Hello everyone. I know with the festivities going around, it's very difficult to study. But then we have to do what we have to do. So, in the previous revision lecture, I had uploaded this revision lecture of Negotiable Instruments Act. And I had got many messages saying that, ma'am, it would be very good if you could upload a discussion of the scanner that you have uploaded earlier. So, I am just going to discuss the scanner in this video. One thing, for all those practical questions, we are going to discuss those questions in details. But as far as the theory question is concerned, we are not going to discuss them in details because it's a straight answer and it's not something which is very difficult to write. So, we are going to start with the scanner. So, let's move on to the first question. Now, one thing if you remember, we had in fact discussed in that video also, for negotiation, delivery is very important. So, here it was not delivered. Yes, it's an endorsement as P becomes the holder of the check that he found in N's safe locker. No, it's not an endorsement as P does not become the holder of the check. Yes, it is an endorsement as P was an ultimate custodian of the check. No, it is not an endorsement as N endorsed it to C and not to P. N endorsed the same to C but kept it in his safe locker, right? And P found the check. First of all, it was endorsed to C. P found the check in the locker. It was not endorsed to P. So, P is not the holder of the check as it's not an endorsement. Offences committed under the Negotiable Instruments Act can be compoundable, not compoundable. Okay, what is compoundable? Compoundable means that instead of imprisonment, we can settle with a fine. What is not compoundable? Not compoundable means that we cannot make a compromise. Imprisonment is mandatory along with fine. Non-compoundable and non-bailable. What is non-bailable? Non-bailable means once the person has been arrested, a bail cannot be granted. And bailable means once the person is arrested, a bail can be granted. So, it is, if you remember, when we were doing section 138, the offence is punishable by amount which may extend to twice the amount of the check, or imprisonment which may extend to 2 years, or both. So, that means imprisonment is not mandatory. So, if imprisonment is not mandatory, I can settle with a fine. So, it is what? Compoundable. So, these were the MCQs. Now, moving on to the questions. Mr. Varun draws a check of 11,000 and gives it to Mr. Avi by way of gift. State with reasons whether Mr. Avi is a holder in due course. For a holder in due course, 3 conditions. What? Good faith, before maturity, and consideration. As we can see that it was given by way of gift, not for consideration. So, he is not a holder in due course. Is Mr. Avi entitled to receive the amount of 11,000 from the bank? Yes, because he is the holder. Why? Because he has a right to hold the instrument and he is entitled to receive the money on the instrument. So, in the instant case, Mr. Avi is a holder but not a holder in due course, and he has a title good and bona fide. So, he is entitled as a holder to receive the 11,000 rupees. Now, moving on to the next question. So, the next question is, A draws a bill on B. B accepts the bill without any consideration. The bill is transferred to C without consideration. C transferred it to D for value. Decide whether we have already discussed the first part of the question. Anyway, A gave it to B without consideration. B gave it to C without consideration. C gave it to D for consideration. Whether D can sue the prior parties. D has a right to sue A, B or C. We already discussed this. Whether the prior parties other than D have any right of action inter se. Inter se means can B sue A, can C sue A or B. See, as between A and B there is no consideration, so B cannot sue A. As between B and C there is no consideration, so C cannot sue either B or A. So, as between the parties inter se, there is no right at all. The next question is almost similar, so I have not written the answer. Instead, I have just simply written the question. They are almost the same as the previous one. So whether the prior parties other than D have any rights of action inter se, prior parties will have no rights of action. So if we come back again, D, as he is acquired the instrument, can sue any of the prior parties. The other parties have received without consideration and said so they have no right to recover the money. Thus the prior parties have no rights inter se. I hope it's clear. The next one, F by inducing G obtains a bill of exchange from him fraudulently in F's favor. Later he enters into a commercial deal with H and endorses the bill to him towards consideration for the deal. H takes the bill as a holder in due course. H subsequently endorses the bill to F for value for consideration to F for some other deal. On maturity the bill is dishonored. F sues G for the recovery of the money. Now F by inducing G, he got a bill of exchange, correct? Who has done fraud? F. Inducing, so he has done some fraud. Later he endorses it to whom? To H. Who is H? He is a holder in due course. If you remember, in my prior video I had told you that a holder in due course acquires the instrument free from all defects and he can sue the parties, any of the prior parties. Further, I had also told you that if any person acquires the instrument from a holder in due course, if any person acquires the instrument from a holder in due course, he also has the same right as the holder in due course, right? Now this H, he endorses the instrument back to F. So can we say this F is now deriving the title from H? Yes. So as per the rule, he gets the same right. But if the person is a party to the fraud, he will not get the same title. Here, if F had knowledge of the fraud, he would have got the same title. If you are not able to understand, I have posted a video on this, holder in due course. I have given examples for each situations. In this case, if F was just having knowledge of fraud, he would have got the same title. But he was a party to the fraud. And when a party to the fraud acquires the instrument from the holder in due course, he will not get the same title. So, will F succeed in his case? What do you think? Obviously, no. So, let's see the answer, what the answer is given. The answer says that in the above case, H has, thus any defect in the title will not affect the rights of the holder in due course even if he has knowledge, provided he is himself not a party to the fraud. So, F will not succeed in his suit against G. I hope it's clear. Coming to the next question. Give the answer of the following as per the provisions of the Negotiable Instruments Act. On a bill of exchange for rupees 5 lakh, X's acceptance to the bill was forged. A takes the bill from his customer for value and good faith before the bill becomes payable. State with reasons whether A can be considered as a holder in due course and whether he can receive the money on the bill from. Now, to become a holder in due course, for a holder in due course, what are the three conditions that we need to fulfill? Good faith, before maturity, and क्या तीसरा क्या था? कंसिडरेशन. ये तीनों चीजों का फुलफिल होना जरूरी है होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स के लिए. यहाँ पे देखो, A takes the bill from his customer for value. इसका मतलब क्या? कंसिडरेशन है. In good faith before the bill becomes payable. इसका मतलब it is before maturity, good faith. So all the three conditions are fulfilled. So is A a holder in due course? Yes or no? बिल्कुल, absolutely. But X's acceptance to the bill is forged. And अगर आपको याद है, I told you that holder in due course एक ऐसी पवित्र गंगा नदी है जिसके अंदर अगर हमारा इंस्ट्रूमेंट डुबकी लगाए तो उसके पिछले सारे पाप धुल जाते हैं. तो उसके पिछले जितने भी पाप थे वो सब धुल गए. बट दो पाप ऐसे जो नहीं धुलते, एक है फोर्जरी, एक है नॉट नेगोशिएबल क्रॉसिंग. Because the instrument was accepted by a fourth signature. Even though A is a holder in due course, he will not get the money. So, in case of forgery and in case of not negotiable crossing, however, you may be a holder in due course, whatever, but you will not get the money on the instrument. So, coming to the answer, is A a holder in due course? A is a holder in due course. However, does he have a right? He cannot receive the amount on the bill. Cannot receive. I hope it's clear to everyone. Now moving on to the next question. Discuss with reasons in the following given conditions whether M can be called as a holder under the Negotiable Instruments Act. Now, to become a holder, you need to fulfill two conditions. To become a holder, you need to fulfill two conditions. What are the two conditions? First, you need to have the right to, it is I, to hold the instrument. And you must have the right to receive money on the instrument. To become a holder, you need to fulfill two conditions. You must have a right to hold the instrument and you must have a right to receive money on the instrument. So, to become a holder, I must have the right to hold the instrument in my own name and I must have the right to receive money on it. So, coming back to the first one, M, the payee of the check, who is prohibited by a court. So, he is the payee of the check, so he has a right to hold. But because he is prohibited by the court from receiving any money, he does not have a right to receive the money. So, is he the holder? No. M, the agent of Q, is entrusted with an instrument without endorsement by Q, who is the payee. M, the agent of Q, is entrusted with the instrument without endorsement by Q, who is the payee. So, because M has been asked by Q to hold the instrument and receive money on it, he has a right to receive money. But does he have a right to sue on the instrument in his name? No. So, he has no right to hold. So, can he be regarded as the holder? No. So, whenever you get a question to check whether the person is a holder or not, two things we need to see. Does he have a right to hold the instrument? That is, can he sue on the instrument in his name? And second, does he have a right to receive money on the instrument? If both the conditions are fulfilled, he is considered as a holder. Q draws a bill on S but signs it in a fictitious name of R. The bill is payable to the order of R. The bill is duly accepted by S. P obtains the bill from Q, thus becoming its holder in due course. Can S avoid the payment? What did I tell you in case of a fictitious instrument? In case of a fictitious instrument, if the holder in due course proves that drawer and endorser are in the same name. See here, S signs it in the fictitious name of R. The bill is payable to R or order. The bill is accepted by S. P obtains the bill from Q, thus becoming its holder in due course, right? So, in this case, what happened was Q only draws the instrument and Q only endorses the instrument. Since it is in the both in the same hand, S cannot avoid the payment. So, is he liable to pay? Yes. So, S cannot avoid the payment. Moving on to the next question. So, the next question, referring to the provisions of the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881, examine the validity of the following. A bill of exchange originally drawn by Mukesh for a sum of 10,000. For a sum of 10,000 but accepted for 7,000. This is, can we say it is a conditional acceptance? Yes or no? Yes. Because the bill was drawn for 10,000, accepted for 7,000, it's a conditional acceptance. Now, in this case, first of all, if there is a conditional acceptance, it is dishonor by non-acceptance and the drawer is not bound. So, Mukesh is not bound. However, if the drawer accepts it, that is, he takes the conditional acceptance, then it is valid. So, coming back to the answer, it is qualified when the drawee does not accept the bill according to the terms of the bill but attaches some conditions which have the effect of either reducing the acceptor's liability or acceptance of liability subject to certain conditions. A conditional acceptance shall render the instrument as dishonored. The drawer may, however, accept the qualified acceptance, and in such a case the instrument shall be valid. Correct? Now, moving on again to the next question. A check marked not negotiable is not transferable. When we were discussing this video, I had very clearly pointed out, दिखावे पे मत जाओ, अपनी अकल लगाओ. Just because the word is not negotiable, it doesn't mean that it cannot be negotiated. It simply means the transferee gets the same title as the what? Transferor. Same title as the transferor. So if I look at it, however, if the instrument is, even if he fulfills all the conditions, will get the same title as that of the transferor. Okay. K is an employee of Sumit. He fraudulently obtains from Sumit a check crossed not negotiable. He later transfers the check to D, who gets the check in cash from XYZ bank. First of all, not negotiable crossing. So the holder in due course will not get a good title. He'll get the same title as what? K, which is not the drawee bank. Sumit comes to know about the fraudulent act of K, sues XYZ bank for the recovery of the money. Examined with reference to the relevant provisions of the whether Sumit will be successful in his claim. Now, in this case, please understand, first of all, the check was crossed not negotiable, right? It was crossed not negotiable. So will K get a good K, because he has taken it by fraud and given it to D, will D get a good title? No. Even if he is a holder in due course, he will not get a good title. Now it was encashed from XYZ bank, which was not the drawee bank. Please understand, in case of a not negotiable crossing, if the drawee bank makes the payment, the drawee bank is not liable. If the drawee bank makes the payment, the drawee bank is not liable because they have made the payment on a check which is properly marked and everything is done. But if the bank is not the drawee bank and they make payment on a not negotiable cross check, they are liable to the drawer. So, whether Sumit will be successful in his claim or not? Yes. Would your answer be still the same in case K does not transfer the check and gets the check encashed? Yes. Why? Because XYZ is not the drawee bank. If it was a drawee bank, he will get. If it is not a drawee bank, it's a not negotiable cross check. The bank should take care before encashing that check. So, I have a right to recover the money. So, Sumit in both the cases will be successful in his claim from XYZ bank. Now moving to the next question. A check payable to bearer is crossed generally and marked not negotiable. The check is lost or stolen and comes into the possession of Vishnu, who takes it in good faith and gives value for it. Vishnu deposits the check into his own bank and his banker presents it and obtains the payment for his customer from the bank upon which it is drawn. Explain whether the banks are liable or not. If you remember, in the previous question, I told you if the bank is not the drawee bank, they are liable. But here they have clearly mentioned that upon which it is drawn, bank upon which it is drawn. So, when I am making the payment, when I am asking for the payment from the bank on which the check is drawn, the paying banker gets a protection if he has made the payment in due course. If he has made the payment in due course, the paying banker gets the what? It gets that relief, it gets the protection. So, will the banks be liable? No. So, if we look at this part here, see what they have written here. In case the title proved to be defective to the true owner by reason only of having received the payment of the check for his customer, he is not liable. And since the paying banker on whom the cross check was drawn has paid the same in due course, the banker would also not be liable. If he would have made the payment over the counter, then he could have been liable that it was payment, it was a cross check, how could you? But he has made the payment in due course. So both the banks are not liable. So one thing that we can conclude from here is that in case of a not negotiable crossing, if the bank is not the drawee bank, we can hold the bank liable. But if the bank is the drawee bank and the bank makes the payment in due course, the bank is not liable. I hope it's clear. Coming to the next question, state the rules. We are not rules of maturity. We had already discussed in that video also, so not going into this. Okay. Harish executed a promissory note in favor of Sejal for 5 crores. The said amount was payable 3 days after sight. Sejal on maturity presented the promissory note on 1st Jan. She presented it on 1st Jan to Harish. Harish made the payment on 4th Jan. Sejal wants to recover interest for 1 day from Harish. Advise Harish in the light of provisions of the Negotiable Instrument Act whether he is liable to pay interest for 1 day. Now, it was payable 3 days after sight. 3 days after sight. When was sight presented? 1st Jan. 3 days after. So, we have to exclude 1st Jan. What is 3 days? 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So, he made the payment on the 4th of the Jan. Is he delaying the payment? No. So, is he liable to pay? No. So, coming back to the answer again, as per section 24, where a bill or the time of payment is determined by excluding the day from which the payment begins to run. I am going to exclude it. In the given case, it was presented on the 1st of Jan. 3 days after it is 4th of Jan. So, therefore, in this given case, Harish will succeed in objecting Sejal's claim. So, moving on to the next question. Mr. S. Venkatesh drew a check in favor of M, who was 16-year-old. M settled his rental due by endorsing the check in favor of Mrs. A, the owner of the house in which he stayed. The check was dishonored when Mrs. A presented it for payment on grounds of inadequacy of funds. Advise Mrs. A how she can proceed to collect her dues. Now, Mr. S drew a check in favor of M. M is a minor. Is it valid? Yes, because a minor can be a beneficiary. He endorses it to Mrs. A. The check is dishonored. Can Mrs. A recover the money? Yes. The holder in due course has a right to recover the money from any of the prior parties. However, in this case, because M is a minor, M cannot be held liable. So, who is liable? Mr. S is liable. So, therefore, M is not liable. Mrs. A can thus proceed against Mr. S to collect her dues. A banker made a payment of a check in which the drawer's signature was forged. Can the banker claim protection in respect of such payment? What would be the protection if in case of the forgery of endorser's signature? See, we can have 2 forgeries. One is the drawer's signature was forged. One is the endorser's signature. It should be endorser. One is the drawer's signature is forged and one is the endorser's signature is forged. See, my bank, I have an account. Drawer is the account holder. Right? It is the duty of the bank to know the signature of his account holders. And if the bank is ignorant about the signature of the account holders, the bank is liable. But the bank is not running an investigation agency. मैं अपने अकाउंट होल्डर के सिग्नेचर को जानूंगी. आई विल नो द सिग्नेचर ऑफ माई अकाउंट होल्डर, बट इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. मेरे लिए पॉसिबल नहीं है टू नो द सिग्नेचर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड एट लार्ज. सो एंडोर्सर्स सिग्नेचर not liable. So please understand, when we talk about drawer, the drawer is the account holder of that bank, and it is the duty of the banker to know his signature. And if there is a forgery of drawer's signature, the bank is liable. But I cannot know the world's signature. So if there is a default in endorser's signature, the bank is not liable. So in the above case, the banker made on check where the drawer's signature, the banker will not get any protection. However, if the payment is made on a check where the endorser's signature is forged, the banker shall be protected. Okay, the next one, Mr. Muralidharan drew a check payable to Mr. Vyas or order. Mr. Vyas lost the check and was not aware of the loss of the check. The person who found the check forged the signature of Mr. Vyas. So Mr. Vyas is a drawer or an endorser here. He is an endorser. And endorses this to Mr. Parshvanath as the consideration for goods bought by him from Mr. Parshvanath. So Mr. Parshvanath is a holder in due course. Mr. P encashed the check on the very same day from the drawee bank. Mr. Vyas initiated the drawee bank about the theft of the check after 3 days. Now, first of all, the endorser's signature is forged. Is the bank liable? No. Then second, Mr. Vyas, if before encashing the check he would have informed about the loss of check, and then the bank makes the payment, bank is liable or not? Yes. But here he makes the payment after, he initiates or he informs the bank about the loss of check after 3 days. By then the payment was already made. So examine the liability. Do you think the bank will be liable? No. So the drawee bank has no liability. Okay, give the answer of the following as per the provisions of the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. X draws a check in favor of M, a minor. M endorses the same in favor of X. The check is dishonored by the bank on the grounds of inadequate funds. Discuss the rights of X. We've already discussed this. In favor of M. M minor, he can be a beneficiary. So what is the rights of X? He can recover the money from A. Okay. So what are the rights of, therefore M is not liable, X can proceed against A. Chalo, the next one, a promissory note was made without mentioning any time for payment. If no time for payment is mentioned, it is payable what? On demand. The holder added the words on demand on the face of the instrument. Does this amount to material alteration? See, what is material alteration? Something which changes the nature or the characteristics of the instrument or the rights and liabilities of the parties. When no time is mentioned, it is as it is payable on demand. And he just added the words on demand. So, is it a material alteration? No, because as it is, when no time is mentioned, it's payable on demand, and it's just mentioned on demand. It means the same thing. So, hence adding does not alter the business effect of the instrument. So, it's not a material alteration. A draws a check of rupees 1000 and hands it over to B by way of gift. Is B a holder in due? We have already discussed. This. Is B a holder in due course? No, because it was by way of a gift. Explain whether he has a right to receive the proceeds. Yes, the same question was there. He has a right to receive the proceeds of the check. Yes, he has the right to receive the proceeds because he is still a holder. So, his title is good and bona fide. As a holder, he is entitled to receive from the bank the amount. He does not get the check for value and consideration, so he is not a holder in due course. A check is drawn payable to B or order. It is stolen and the thief forges B's endorsement and endorses it to C. The banker pays the check in due course, whether B can recover the money from the banker. This I have told you so many times. Already 2 questions discussed. It was stolen and the thief forges B's endorsement. He forges B's endorsement, right? So, B is what? The endorser or the drawer? He is the endorser. Is the bank liable? No, the bank is not liable. See, because we've already discussed this, I'm not going into the detailed part. Negotiation by delivery, I've already explained this to you in the previous video. What is sans recourse endorsement? A bill of exchange is drawn payable to X or order. X endorses it to Y, Y to Z, Z to A to B and B to X. State with reasons whether X can recover the amount of the bill from Y, Z, A and B if he has originally endorsed the bill to Y by adding sans recourse. Okay. Now, what happened in this case? X endorsed it to Y, Y to Z. Okay, and when X has endorsed it to Y, he had made a sans recourse endorsement. Y had made it to Z, Z had given it to A to B, and B to X. Right? In sans recourse, generally what happens in negotiation back, all the intermediate parties are discharged. But in sans recourse endorsement, all the intermediate parties are liable, but you are not liable. So, Y, Z, A and B are liable to X, but X is not liable to anyone. Same example I in fact taught you in the revision video also. See, sans recourse means without coming back to me. So if he gets the instrument back, all the parties are liable to him, but he is not liable to anyone. So thus X can recover the money from Y, Z, A or B. What is meant by sans recourse and how does it differ from sans phrase? Sans recourse says I will not pay anything on the instrument. Sans phrase says I will pay the amount but nothing else on the instrument. Y draws a bill of exchange on Z for 5,000 payable to his order. Z accepts the bill but subsequently dishonors it by non-payment. Y sues Z on the bill. Z proves that the bill was accepted for value for 3,000 and accommodation for 2,000. In case of accommodation bill, I already told you, because there is no consideration, you cannot recover the money, but 3,000 there is consideration. So he can recover 3,000. So he can recover 3,000 but he cannot recover 2,000. So thus Y can recover only 3,000 from Z. So the next question says that E is the holder of a bill of exchange made payable to the order of F. The bill of exchange contains the following endorsements in blank. So that means F gave it to G, G gave it to H, H gave it to I gave it to E. E strikes out without I's consent. Achha, before we go into this, can we say G has the right over F? Yes. H has a right over F and G? Yes. I has a right over F, G and H, and E has a right over all the prior parties. So he can recover the money from F, G, H, I. E strikes out without I's consent the endorsements of G and H. Now, when E strikes off G and H's name, can we say he is impairing I's rights over G and H? Yes or no? I had a right to recover the money from G and H, but when you strike off the name of G and H, you are discharging them. So that means you are impairing the right of I. So when E impairs the right of I, hampers the rights of I over the prior parties, I is what? Discharged. So if you remember discharge of the instrument, we had discussed this when the endorser is not liable to the endorsee if the endorsee impairs the rights of the endorser on any of the prior parties. See, simple. I का right था G and H पे, उसने इनका नाम हटा के I के ये rights को hamper कर दिया. I will be discharged जैसे कि उसने payment कर दिया. So whether E is entitled to recover anything from I? No. He only has a right over F. So coming to the answer, thus E cannot recover anything from I. A bill of exchange has been dishonored by non-payment. Now Mr. Sandeep, the holder, wants a certificate of protest for such dishonor. Advise Mr. Vedi, can he get that the certificate? Yes, he can go to the notary public and the notary public will issue a certificate of protest. Manoj owes money to Umesh. Therefore, he makes a promissory note for the amount in favor of Umesh. For the safety transmission, he cuts the note in half and posts one half to Umesh. He then changes his mind and calls upon Umesh to return the half of the note which he has sent. Umesh requires Manoj to send the other half. First of all, when we say any instrument is drawn, it is complete only by delivery. Delivery does not mean delivery of part, means delivery of the whole of the instrument. This delivery of the part, okay, and post one half to Umesh, is it a valid delivery? No. So can Umesh ask for the rest or can Manoj ask for the return? Umesh requires Manoj to send the other half. Decide how the rights of the parties are to be adjusted. Since the instrument was never delivered, it's not a valid instrument. So can Can Umesh ask for the instrument? No. Can Manoj ask? Yes. So the claim of Umesh to have the other half sent to him is not maintainable. Manoj is thus justified in demanding the return of the first half sent by him. Okay, dishonor of by non-acceptance, you please read, it's a theory question. Modes of discharge from the liability, again please read it, theory question. Jagdish, a shareholder. Now this is a little, we had not discussed this, we had not told you about this. See, when there is under section 138, the punishment is fine up to 2 years, imprisonment up to 2 years, fine up to twice the amount of the check. Now, if the company is at fault, fine is okay, company can give, but how do I imprison the company? Can I imprison the company? No, it's not possible. So, fine can be done, but how will I imprison the company? Can I put the certificate of incorporation behind the bars and say, okay, company is imprisoned? No, we cannot do that. So, how do I imprison the company? I cannot. So, in case of a company, the person in charge shall be liable for default under section 138. Jagdish, a shareholder of a company, purchased for his personal use certain goods from a mall. On credit, he sent a check drawn on the company's account to the mall towards the full payment of the bills. The check was dishonored by the company's bank. Jagdish, the shareholder of the company, was neither a director nor a person in charge of the company. Examining the provisions of the Negotiable Instruments Act state whether Jagdish has committed an offence under section. No. Why? Because it's only person in charge. So, Jagdish is not liable for the check. Now, so Jagdish is not liable for the check, and decide whether he can be held liable for the payment of the goods. Yes, because he has purchased the goods, so lawfully he is liable, but he is not liable for the check because only a person in charge is liable. So, Jagdish is not liable for the check but legally liable for the payment for the goods. Bholanath drew a check in favor of Surendra. After having issued the check, Bholanath requested Surendra not to present the check for payment and gave a stop payment request to the bank in respect of the check issued to Surendra. Decide whether the said act constitutes an offence. Now, I had told you in the revision video, when the stop payment is for no funds, then it is under section 138. If the stop payment is for other reason, then not under section 138, right? Now, in this case, what is important to understand is, was the stop payment for no funds? See, after having he requested Surendranath not to present the check and gave a stop payment order to the bank, this shows that there were no funds. So, is he liable? Yes, he is liable. So, the act of Bholanath constitutes an offence under the provisions of the Negotiable Instruments Act. Mr. Bean is a promoter who has taken a loan on behalf of the company, but he is neither a director nor a person in charge. He sent a check from the company's account to discharge its legal liability. Subsequently, the check was dishonored and a complaint was lodged against him. Can he be held liable for an offence? No. I told you, when it comes to a company, it is person in charge, right? He is neither a director nor a person in charge. So, is he liable? No, he will not be. Therefore, Mr. Bean has not committed an offence under section 138. Okay, the next two questions are theory questions, which is easy for you to understand, nothing to teach. I hope this was helpful to you. Hopefully, I'll try and record videos of others also if it's possible. It's a little too late, but still it's better late than never. If you have liked the video, please do post a comment and a like. Thank you so much. Stay happy learning and stay motivated.